So the Buffalo Bills are going to be playing for a trip to go to the Super Bowl. They will be in the AFC Championship game. This is a wild game, and it did not start off strong by the offenses. I thought that Buffalo did a little bit better in the second half of sort of using the fact that Baltimore plays man coverage a lot to their advantage, running very small plays under the middle. They got that one touchdown drive. That was pretty much it. But still, that definitely had a big role in this game, and also their defense played well. Both defenses played well, I thought. But let's talk about just what happened, and I'm going to start off with just sort of the slow start in the first half, and then we'll get into, obviously, the pick six. I think that's what people want to talk about. So yeah, let's just get into it. I think this play will be a really good job of showing that when things went well for the Ravens secondary, this is how they were able to do it, where it's going to be man coverage, and that was a key thing, where man coverage, they're just a hard team to play against, and usually the Bills are one of the better teams against man coverage, but, Baltimore's really good in man coverage as well, so it was kind of great versus great, and I think this is a good example where you see that it's Stephon Diggs running a go route against Marcus Peters. I think this is the kind of matchup that, honestly, Buffalo likes, and one of the real reasons they like it is because it appears as though there's no safety. I've circled Deshaun Elliott on the screen. He's the safety in the game, but it appears as though he's going to be blitzing here, or at least maybe covering the middle of the field, but not going deep, which is something you can do in a 3rd down and 6 if you're trying to play aggressive and trying to, not worry about a deep shot, just get off the field here. So, good play call by Baltimore's defense. They have a lot of good play calls on defense, I think. And so that's kind of how this is working, where Josh Allen is decided, but pre-snap, he's going to throw this ball to Diggs. It could be a big chunk play. It could get them a touchdown or at least inside the 20-yard line. That's what they're going for here. But again, this is not single coverage like he thinks it is because Deshaun Elliott is dropping back into coverage. The issue is he's currently lined up on the line and on the opposite side of the ball. So this is a lot of room that he's going to have to cover here. But watch how quickly he gets back. He does a great job of just turning his hips immediately, getting back. The second the ball is snapped, he's no longer worried about a disguise. He's just trying to get in position. And now you see, it's a little blurry. I have to use the broadcast footage, doing what I can. But, you just see there's no separation whatsoever. Allen misses this throw. He missed several throws in this one, but, at the same time, that play was pretty much never going to work. And for all we know, Josh Allen saw at the last second there was a safety deep and just kind of bombed it too far to make sure, although I'm probably giving him too much credit, he probably just missed the throw. Meanwhile, for Baltimore, really their struggles in the running game came down to just players making plays. It was just individual Buffalo players making plays, and that's how they're able to keep Lamar relatively in check in the first half. On this play, it's going to be a run to Lamar Jackson's right, which is the left side of our screen, and I've circled Vernon Butler right here. On the broadcast, Chris Collinsworth gave a shout out to Tremaine Edmonds. He makes a great play in this one as well. He's the linebacker 49. But I think that actually the better example, and really the reason why this play worked, was because of Butler. The way Baltimore wants it to work is basically they want their right tackle and halfback to get out and be able to block, and there's probably not going to be multiple or more than 2 Buffalo players who get over. It's probably just going to be Edmonds and Poyer. Those will be the 2. And so if everyone else can make their blocks, then those guys can make their blocks, and Lamar Jackson can run for a lot of yards. And yes, the halfback is blocking because it's a Lamar Jackson run. But watch Butler and watch how the minute he sees what's going on, he quickly gets to that side. And that's kind of what I've talked about, is when you think you see something, just go for it. If you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. But when you go for it and make the correct read, you can really blow up a play. And now, for Baltimore, the play is completely screwed up. Their right tackle is going to now have to go over and block Butler. And so Butler doesn't get the tackle for this. He's not going to get a ton of credit. But he's the guy who makes this play because he clears things up for everyone else. As you see, then Edmonds comes in. He's the one who actually makes the tackle. So, good job by the whole Bills defense. And that's really what it comes down to. It has to be a group effort. But oftentimes it just comes down to one guy making the play and his teammates then taking advantage and capitalizing. And that's what they're able to do on that play. When Buffalo got something going early on, this is one of their first chunk plays. They had a couple more, but this was one of the big ones. Really what they were able to do was beat zone coverage. And Baltimore ran a lot less zone coverage as the game went on. They ran, a few in the beginning, and they said, hey, you know what, our man coverage is working well. But when they played zone, Buffalo was able to take advantage, which is kind of what you have to do. When your opposing defense is playing a coverage they're not as good at, you have to take advantage on those plays, and they were able to do that. This is the cover 3 zone, and it's going to be John Brown. He's the key guy here. He's the one who's running a route that, as you see, it's going to get in a little bubble in that zone, and Buffalo is good at that. I think that really they thrive when they can go up against man, but a cover 3 zone, they're pretty good at that too. And against Baltimore, who's great against man, this is actually probably their strong suit in a game like this. And so the way this play works is, Brown gets past the linebackers and defensive backs over the middle, and he's going to try to get underneath of the deep cornerback. That's how it works. Allen takes the snap, and as you see, this is just I don't want to say it's too easy because it was well ran by Buffalo, and that's what made it easy. But it's easy for Allen, and it's not a difficult throw to make in terms of, the separation. The problem is now the sideline is in the area. So for Baltimore, and typically what you do in zone coverage is you're forcing the opposing quarterback to make a great play. That's what you want to do. But the problem is that Josh Allen can make great plays pretty consistently. And again, this wasn't his best day, but he can definitely make these kind of throws, and Brown can make these kind of catches even with the sideline being a factor. Brown does make the grab just in bounds, and they get a first down. Meanwhile, for Baltimore, this was their first big play that made you say, okay, there you go. That's the Lamar Jackson and Baltimore Ravens we're used to seeing. This is going to be quarters coverage, so it's hard to work and get deep against quarters coverage typically. At least that's what you think, but sometimes it's not always that case. Because sometimes when you have extra guys back there, you kind of play a bit more aggressive knowing you have other help in the area. You don't force yourself deep, but that can open things up. And this is a great example where Hollywood Brown's route is a deep route, but he's eventually going to cross over in the middle. But it's going to be a minute. He's not going to do it immediately. And the timing is crucial on this play. Because once Lamar Jackson takes a snap, you also see some jawing on the screen. That's what they did. But you see that, he's running and he's starting to cut in, but he does it after the safety. So he's waiting until after the safety to then cut over the middle. And this now means that the safety says, hey, there is a one-on-one matchup over there. We got someone. And also, Lamar Jackson has the room to run. He can pick up a first down here if he runs with the football. So I'm going to run in, and I'm going to try and make sure that doesn't happen. He's playing aggressive. And you can criticize him if you want. I think it's probably fair to some degree. But at the same time, it's just well ran and well executed by Baltimore, and this is just a tough situation for Buffalo to be in. Jackson is going to make this throw, and it's really just a perfect concept against the Buffalo Bills concept. If they probably figured this is going to be quarters coverage, ran a quarters coverage beater, I think that was a good play from Baltimore, and it was kind of their first big play. That's what led to points getting scored. So this was obviously the big play. This is the one that everyone's going to talk about. I thought that this was, everyone's killing Lamar Jackson. He didn't have his best day. He wasn't horrible, but this play was. This play was legitimately horrible, and this really killed basically the game. This was the dagger. This went from, if they scored a touchdown, it would have been tied, to after this play, down 14 in a game where they're really struggling to get offense going, and obviously Lamar going down and getting injured in the next drive certainly didn't help. So it's going to be zone coverage Buffalo is in. Obviously, you're playing zone coverage against Lamar Jackson. They're playing a cover 2 here, so this is the way it works. Andrews is simply just going to try and find a gap in coverage. That's what he's doing here. He kind of tries to get in between the gap you see on the screen. That's what he's going to do. But notice that he's also going to be running through another zone. So that's worth mentioning here. The zone Andrews is running through is Taron Johnson's zone. And so basically the hope is that he just gets open immediately after he gets past him, and then he can get a touchdown. But once this play starts, watch Tremaine Edmonds, and see, he kind of shuts off Mark Andrews. So, good read on him. He was basically just following Andrews the whole way. So more of just a good decision pre-snap. So now Lamar, who would have loved to just, be able to fire it to Andrews immediately, can't really do that. But he knows that if Andrews sort of gets back away from the middle of the field, there is a window there. And I just think that he never saw Johnson. I think that's really what happened. But part of this, too, is just Johnson made a great read on this, where he didn't just pass off Andrews and say, okay, whatever. He's still looking, watching Lamar, and waiting for a throw to be made. I do think that, on one hand, you could argue that Willie Snead is open on the other side. I saw some people saying that. But Johnson is kind of in a perfect position where, regardless of where Lamar throws this, he can try and cut it off, because the angle is better to cut off Snead's, but he's still close enough to Andrews. So this is just Absolutely perfect placement by Johnson where he's directly in between both of those guys. He's watching Lamar, and he knows that he can potentially jump this route. He does jump in front. He gets this interception, and not only that, but breaks a tackle at the goal line, which ends up being huge, because if he doesn't break that tackle at the goal line, then, this is, I don't know if it's a guaranteed different game. I think that probably the Ravens still lose, probably the Bills still win, but that really put the dagger and allowed Buffalo to win this football game, and they're going to go to play either Kansas City or they'll be at home against Cleveland, and I got to think for Buffalo, they're hoping for Cleveland with no disrespect to Cleveland. I just think Kansas City's a really good team, and, they beat Buffalo already this season. So, yeah, awesome win for Buffalo. They're back in the AFC Championship game. Definitely has to feel cool. Wasn't their best overall day offensively, but it was probably their best day defensively this season, and capped off with an incredible play and also a mistake from Lamar, but that's football. You got to take advantage of your opponent's mistakes. Lamar Jackson shouldn't have made that throw, but make him pay in the worst way possible, and it doesn't get worse than an 100-yard pick six, so there you go. Yeah, that's what I thought of this game. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.